What if I told you the secret to getting way better answers from an AI is to just ask it the same question twice in a row? I know, it sounds too simple, almost kind of lazy, right? But new research from Google shows this completely counterintuitive trick is one of the most effective, zero-cost ways to boost AI performance. So yeah, let's get into it.
All right, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at a hidden weakness in how AIs work. Then, I'll show you the simple repetition trick that fixes it and, most importantly, why it works. We'll look at the hard data, I'll tell you the one time you should probably skip it, and you'll walk away with a brand new prompting superpower.
So, first things first, we need to understand this weird little quirk that most of us have probably run into without even noticing. Believe it or not, the order of the words you use can totally throw an AI for a loop. I mean, really think about that for a second. Why should this incredibly advanced AI give you one answer when you ask a question and then list the options, but a totally different and often worse answer when you list the options before the question? It's the exact same information just shuffled around. It shouldn't matter, but it does. And this visualizes the problem perfectly. Just by flipping the order, you can confuse the model. It's a huge clue that on that initial read-through, the AI isn't really getting the full picture of what you're asking. It's missing the context. So, how do we fix this pretty fundamental weakness? Well, the solution is, and I'm not kidding here, almost laughably simple. You don't need to write some complex, super detailed prompt. You just repeat yourself. The researchers even gave it a name: prompt repetition. And it's exactly what it sounds like. You just take your entire query and you duplicate it. You feed the model the same text twice, back to back in one go. That's literally it. And yep, it is really this easy. Step 1, you write your prompt like you always do. Step 2, you copy it and you paste it right after the original. No extra words, no rephrasing, nothing. Just a straight-up duplication. You're basically forcing AI to double-check your request before it even thinks about answering. Okay, so the big question is, why on earth does this work? I mean, it feels like a glitch, right? But the magic is actually rooted in how these huge language models are designed from the ground up. See, most of the AIs we interact with are what's called causal language models. Now, that sounds super technical, but the idea is pretty simple. They read in a straight line, from left to right, one word after another. Their whole job is to predict the very next word based only on the words that came before it. And that's the weakness. Because of that one-way street design, a word at the beginning of your prompt can't see or pay attention to a word at the end. It's kind of like reading a mystery novel. The detective in chapter 1 can't possibly use clues from the final chapter. So on that first pass, the AI's understanding is always incomplete. And that's the genius of this little trick. When you repeat the prompt, you give every single word a chance to finally see every other word in the full context. That second copy lets the first copy get the whole story. Suddenly, nothing gets missed. It's a really elegant hack that gets around the model's one-way attention problem. Now, I know this sounds great in theory, but does it actually hold up in the real world? Well, the researchers went to town on this, testing it across a ton of different models and tasks, and the results? Well, they speak for themselves. Get this. Across 70 different tests, just repeating the prompt scored a major statistically significant win 47 times. That is a huge, huge success rate. But here's the kicker. The number of times it made things significantly worse? 0. Not once. It never hurt performance in a meaningful way. It either helps a lot or it does nothing, which makes it a remarkably safe bet. And you can see the proof right here. These charts cover all the big names: Google's Gemini, OpenAI's GPT, and Anthropic's Claude. The darker bars, that's with prompt repetition. They are consistently and sometimes dramatically higher than the lighter baseline bars. This isn't a fluke. It's a clear pattern. So to really push this idea to its limits, the researchers made up their own tough little task. They called it Name Index. They'd give the AI a list of 50 names and just ask it to find, say, the 25th name on the list. This kind of task is brutal for an AI because it really tests its ability to pay attention to details buried in the middle of a lot of text. And the results are, well, they're just staggering. Look at this chart. Without repetition, one of the Gemini models got the right answer only about 21% of the time. Not great, but with prompt repetition, accuracy shoots up to over 97%. That's not just a little bump. That's the difference between failing the test and getting a near-perfect score. Okay, so this seems like a total magic bullet, right? But, and this is important, there is one key exception to keep in mind. Knowing this will help you use the trick even more effectively. Here's the deal. Prompt repetition gives you the biggest bang for your buck on tasks that don't need complex step-by-step reasoning. So things like finding information, classifying text, or simple Q&A. When you ask a model to think step by step, the effect is mostly neutral. And the reason is kind of funny. Turns out when you ask a model to reason, it often starts its process by repeating the prompt back to itself anyway. And here's probably the best part of all. This is a truly free performance upgrade. The research confirms it adds no extra wait time, it doesn't make the AI's final answer any longer, and since you're usually charged for the output, it doesn't cost you a single extra penny. And this isn't just a hunch, the data backs it all up. If you look at the columns for latency and response length in the paper's results, the bars for prompt repetition are almost identical to the baseline. It's all upside, with no downside for the right kind of task. So what does this all mean for you? Well, it means you've now got a simple, powerful, and totally free new tool in your AI toolkit. Let's wrap this up. The big takeaway here is that AIs have this hidden sensitivity to word order, but the fix is incredibly simple. Just duplicate your prompt. This gives the AI a second chance to understand what you want, especially if you're asking it to find or classify something. And best of all, it's a completely free upgrade to your results. And that really leaves us with a fascinating question to chew on. If a trick this simple, this obvious, can make such a huge difference, it really makes you wonder, what other simple hacks are still out there, just waiting for us to find them, that could totally unlock the true potential of these amazing tools?